What's up, everybody? Bernard Jackson with Built Different AI. Most people look at AI and see hype, shortcuts, or confusion. But what do we see? We see leverage. Welcome to Built Different AI, where we cut through the noise and show you how to actually weaponize modern tech for real-world execution. No fluff, no theory, just high-level strategy and relentless execution. Don't just adapt to the future, dominate it. Search Built Different AI on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe today. All right, everybody. Welcome to Built Different AI, episode 9. And before we get off to the show, just want to see that it's a little bit different now. I'm a little somber, but it's okay. So going forward, Built Different AI will be a solo adventure. This is going to be the first episode moving forward without Jayden as the co-host. You know, Jayden's been with me since the beginning of this journey. We did film 8 episodes together. It was pretty exciting to do those things with him, just being able to bounce some things off of him, the information that he was able to share with me. But, you know, he's moving forward to focus on some different things in his life right now. And I commend him for all that. He's always going to have my support. I'm going to support him every step of the way with everything I possibly can. You know, sometimes in life, people come into your atmosphere for a season, and then it's time for them to move on. And I just think that Jayden was like a spark for me to kind of pursue this journey that I'm doing right now. You know, he was very excited about the AI. Again, just going back on our first meeting, we had, you know, it was an interesting topic just to bring up AI and just see the excitement that he had by just going on this journey. And his excitement kind of led to even more of my excitement, you know, to explore different AIs. So I appreciate him for just pushing me forward in my journey with AI. So that being said, there was no falling out. You know, there was no disagreement with me and him at all. And Jayden, if you're watching this episode, man, I appreciate everything that you brought to the table. And, you know, you're more than welcome at any time to communicate with me, to come on as a guest, you know, to share all the wonderful experiences of things that you've been experiencing. But Built Different AI tribe moving forward, you know, it's going to be me and me alone. And we may have some guests. I may have some things that I'm able to kind of do now is kind of a solo thing. But I'm going to grow. I'm going to continue to develop and even show, again, the journey of what AI can actually do and transform your life. So that being said, let's get ready. Built Different AI, episode 9. Let's get it. My tribesmen, Built Different AI. We're back, or I'm back. I got to get used to saying I, you know, because it's a solo adventure right now. But welcome to episode 9 of Built Different AI. I am your host, Bernard Jackson, and I'm just glad for you joining us or joining me today. Again, that's probably going to be something I have to get used to saying. Now, I've been looking at the analytics, kind of just following, you know, the viewerships and people who are subscribing and the comments, and people are sharing our content. And again, I'm very appreciative of the things that you guys are doing. The ladies who all are watching, I appreciate your support. I'm going to ask you to continue to support the channel, continue to share the content. Again, I still want some comments. I know you guys are watching. I still want some comments. And just, just to kind of get this out there. A lot of the YouTube shorts that I'm making are AI generated. I'm learning how to do those things. So eventually, you're probably going to see me in those clothes because I like the style, But a lot of the contents are AI generated. Is something that I've learned how to do, and I'm going to get a lot better and a lot creative with those YouTube shorts and the videos that I may be able to produce because I'm learning the concept of that. But again, just thanking you guys. If you're watching the video, please that puts us in the algorithm, right? We're definitely trying to grow the channel and hopefully have some collaborations with other people that are out there doing their AI channels as well. We want to be not like everybody else. We definitely want to be original, but learning, I feel like that's a tribe thing. Like we learn together. So just, if you have any recommendations during the comments, please um, write anything in the comment section so that, I can at least acknowledge that you guys are watching the show and just show prompts and just do things that we can do to kind of develop our community. So I appreciate that. So that being said, this has been another interesting week, for my interest in AI. I've been kind of doing some things that now my phone allows for me to do that maybe a couple of weeks ago I couldn't do or maybe didn't even acknowledge. So every week is probably going to get a lot better. So I had noticed that there was when I was on Anthropic, my website, just my website, my AI agent. I'm normally on the projects and normally the chats, just having certain conversations. But for this time, I clicked on the co-work. I've never done that one before. I know they got the cloud code on there, but I've never did the co-work. So I didn't actually know what I was actually doing, but when I pressed it, it activated basically like let me roll this back, right. So in order to operate some of those things on Claude, you needed a laptop or a desktop and actually to have it operate, but it wasn't able to be operated on mobile phones. But as you can see, right, with technology and how they're upgrading things, now you're able to do things on mobile phone now. So I was kind of experiment with in the cloud co-work, and it was a fascinating thing. I'm still learning it because as I commended it, I asked it specifically that while you're doing these things, I want you to be able to explain to me so I'm able to understand exactly what is occurring. So I'm able to explain it more clearly to the audience that are watching. So every week, I'm probably going to have more of an update on how my knowledge of Claude Cowork is actually how it works, how to explain it, because basically it's different from a prompt. So like with certain AIs and chats, you have to prompt it to do things, but you're doing it yourself. As compared to the cloud work, like once you command it to do something, it automatically just start operating within a system to kind of do it and work on its own. Still has to get your command for certain things, but you can command it, and it doesn't necessarily need all the prompts that you're putting in there. It actually works kind of kind of independently, on its own, depending on the task that you set it up to do. So like today, I'm going to show my Robinhood Agentic account later, but I have been working on learning how to do call options. This again, like there's something about financial literacy and financial background that I've been interested in. Again, I want to shout out Triple I, which is my other company that I run with my brother John, and we go around teaching financial literacy. So I want to kind of learn, other things of earning money besides just buy and hold, which is the foundation of everything. So I was doing paper trading on Weeble, and I was leaking everything, linking, linking everything to my Anthropic Claude projects, and I have it's called Learning Leaps. So I've been monitoring. I did like $3,000. Again, not real money, it's paper trading. I could have did a lot more, but the suggestion was like get an amount like that's realistic to you. And I don't have $1 million yet. Yeah, that's the goal. Like, that's the goal, to be a multimillionaire. Stay locked in, right? Nothing wrong with that. But I used something, a figure that was something that was closer to me. Like I can like physically see myself utilizing that particular amount. So it was about $3,000, and it kind of set up some metrics about the RSI, the VIX, the Bollinger Bands, a company I know. So it was a I had certain metrics that were set in place that it was teaching me how to read long call options. So from the beginning of June, I've been, I think it's June 21st actually. Every Sunday, I will screenshot the events that happened on Friday to kind of get prepared for Monday. And my call option was for Walmart and $105 for January 21st, 2028, to give me time. And just basically what I was learning from Claude was just teaching me about, extending things out, being in the money, you know, understanding the deltas, understanding the theta, just, understanding those concepts, and having a stop loss. It's like, okay, once it hit this percentage, you're out of it. And that's it. Like your thesis has been broken. And it's what it's done was like teaching me to be disciplined, and and understanding like it's not going to always work in your favor, but if you're disciplined with what you're doing, then the losses won't be as much as it could be. Because previous to that, I was just guessing, literally, and I remember I was watching one of my favorite shows, Wall Street Trapper, and I never thought that I would be something that he mentioned. He said he hoped that you do lose. He's correct, right? It's like when you're out there guessing and you win on something like that, what did you learn? You think is you're treating it like a casino, like it's gambling, and then that's exactly what happened to me. Like I lost like yeah, I lost some money on four call options that I thought I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea what I was doing at all. So AI just kind of gave me, like, again, the metrics to follow, so that if um, your thesis breaks, you can cut your loss, so you're not losing all your money. And that was a mistake I made. I lost all of my money, right? I lost all of it. And so basically, that's what it was kind of teaching me to do. And I will write now everything. I have a notebook, and I have a notebook with all of the dates of Sunday starting from June 21st until today. So it was definitely an interesting thing, because what happened today is that my stop loss actually was hit. It actually went a little bit lower when I turned on my computer and looked at the trading map, on the heat map. I saw that like Walmart had was like falling like 9%, and I'm like, whoa. Normally I would wait, but I'm like, well, this is very it caught my attention. So when I screenshot everything again, I screenshot everything to my projects, which was Learning Leaps, which was teaching me about this, right? It did like a thorough breakdown because it was attached to Cloud Code Work, and my stop loss was hit, so I had to sell. Again, it's paper money. I had to sell that, you know, at a loss, but without losing all of the money. And that was a learning lesson, right? Like, and I'm teaching, I'm talking about this right now because it was definitely a learning lesson in life to me. So today, like, I had no, I didn't think that I was going to be doing a solo, or going on this particular path solo, but I was kind of prepared for that. I was kind of preparing for that, and like understanding how I compare the two things. Like, man, it makes sense. Like, okay, you were preparing on one hand for the paper trade for it to rocket up, go up, so you can earn, being at least being taught how to earn the money, you know, and all the thesis was doing, it was everything was doing great. Everything was doing great. Everything was doing great, right? And then today, out of all days, it was my stop loss get hit, right? And today I'm performing Built Different AI solo. I'm gonna be doing it by myself. And again, this is no knock to Jayden. If he has time, he's more than welcome to come on the show as a guest or if I'm bringing guest host. But it's like it was almost like a correlation today. But like I'm not hurt, right? Because I learned I was being taught through AI as an instructor to kind of teach me what was to be expected. Like my thesis didn't work, but the thesis did work, meaning that I was able to cut my loss. So it's like, well, now I'm learning. Okay, well, this is how it feels. Like, yeah, you did lose the money, but you didn't lose all of it. Your thesis broke. So sometimes the thesis, you may make some adjustments or just stick with it again. Look for other sectors that may be, running and meeting your metrics, and then go ahead and try again. Because there's no such thing as 100% winners. Like you have to understand what it feels like to lose in order to know what it feels like to win. And it's like the way that everything kind of just correlated today was definitely interesting. Definitely interesting concept because the whole intent of this journey was to document the movement of people that don't really have backgrounds in tech or anything like that, and see how we're able to kind of function. As you can see, like AI doesn't stop life from happening, right? You think that you were using AI and I was going to call, oh, well, AI is going to make me a wealthy man, which I do believe is going to do that. But like even AI got that, it didn't get it wrong, but how can you predict what was going to happen within the Walmart stock? Yet it's not financial advice, but these are life lives. It does that. So even though I was following all of the metrics, um, doing my daily check in, it still hit my stop loss. And like if it was real money, I would have lost, probably $1,000. Probably $1,000. I would have lost that, but I wouldn't have lost everything. And that was the whole point of that of the stop loss. And it was teaching me is like, yeah, investing takes risk. And now I'm just learning, like in life, just kind of just putting everything together. Like investing doesn't necessarily mean stocks. Investing doesn't necessarily mean money. Any investing that you find yourself doing is going to involve risk. And a lot of people are afraid to take that because of loss. But like loss is something that we have to deal with in life, and sometimes loss is not necessarily a bad thing. You learn a lot from losing. People think like, ah, man, I just want to win all the time. But like when you start making mistakes or you make that make a real mistake, and you have a heart to kind of realize and want to look back and say, how did I make that mistake and what can I learn from it? Those are the most beautiful lessons that can be taught to you, because now you're able to kind of reflect on the mistakes that you made, people that were made probably in your ear, kind of telling you some correct things that you kind of brushed off, even listening to your own thoughts and not moving forth with it, you know? And it's like, okay, if you don't want to experience that feeling again, then you embrace that loss and you move forward. And now that Anthropic was kind of teaching me like that, like, okay, I get a good feel. And at some point, it's going to be a real trade with real cash. And I'll have the understanding like, okay, this is what can occur, but always have a plan. Never just be left out in the dark where your money go all the way to zero. And even with this podcast, I'm still going to trek this because this is something that's very important to me. AI has done some magnificent things in my life, but it's not a fix all. You're still going to have to live this life. So a lot of people that are thinking that AI is going to cure your life, no, it's not going to do that at all. It's not going to fix everything because life always throws curveballs. You can expect the unexpected, but if you have the information and you want to adjust, then that's a good thing. That's a win for you. So, that sound like I'm preaching, but I'm not trying to be too preachy. I say that often, but sometimes when my mind is just flowing, I got to get that out. So it's just and kind of like it's like in real time, which is just the correlation of what I just did with the stop loss and like my co-host not being here no more. Like I wasn't even reflecting on that until I start talking about it. So sometimes I have to let that out because sometimes a podcast can be like a form of therapy. People want to put that out there, but just I'm gathering an understanding. I'm gathering more of an understanding of how this works. Like everything has to have a plan. So I'm going to continue to move forward, just like what the stop loss did, and the metrics that kind of taught me, like okay, what I should be looking out for in the near future when I make a new trade. Always have a plan in place, and that's what I'm going to be doing with this podcast. Always have a plan in place. Like I said, I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm still going to be pro AI. I know that my life will not be the same, and I'm looking to expand. I'm looking to grow. I'm looking to get into new avenues, into new fields. I'm really strongly considering now going to the AI conference now because again, I just want to be around the environment. It was like a question I did ask my Claude AI, about the price. I'm not going. It's a hot topic going to conferences and prices, so I don't want to touch that third rail. But it's a pretty nifty penny. But like I want to be around the environment. Like I want to see what other individuals feel, their experiences, what they're learning, how they're developing certain things, because like that's the technology, and people are coming up with creative ways to kind of make things work for them by utilizing this technology, and I want to be able to kind of bring that to the environment when I'm around because I know that it could actually change people's lives for the better. Even though like I run into, like I said, it's never failing. Like I'm running into a lot of people that just have a negative mindset about AI, and it's not my job to kind of convince them. Like I don't need to witness to them about the things of AI. Like it'll go on its own, but I feel like the best witness of AI is a person that's actually utilizing it, and people are actually seeing the benefits that come along with that. So that being said, I got the scripts. I'm almost like a newscaster now, right? So I'm going to talk about the setup. So I had no content. I went I went in with a cold prompt and I just asked for topics and ideas, and what I got back was very generic. When this was talking about the cloud code work. So I pushed it further, and I asked it to check out our actual YouTube channel. Like I asked the code work, like go to our YouTube channel and see what we can do to kind of prepare for episode 9. And we was at the time me and Jayden, and it hit a wall. So basically, YouTube blocked the access for Claude. Claude couldn't get into it, so it flagged the limitation, and I like the fact that it wasn't trying to give me information. It pretended like it could. It says, "Nah, we can't do that." So what I did, I actually pulled our actual episode 1 through 8 descriptions and I screenshotted them to the Claude code work, and that's when it clicked. It showed me something about episode 2, which we are talking about Robinhood agentic account. And once the AI had the real data, it didn't need a code prompt anymore. It found the thread it on and built the plan around it. So once, like I said, I screenshot all the episodes to Cloud Code Work, and it went to episode 2 because that was my first time um, talking about agentic, like Robinhood agentic account. Like I would never done that. I didn't realize that that was part of Cloud Code anyway. So basically, they fixed that, and out of the whole experience, it gave me an outcome, not steps. It front loaded my things with real context. And like when it didn't work, it visibly let me know what didn't occur. Like there was no workarounds with that. And what it did was it reversed judgment, right? Like the AI can build the scaffolding, but how do we do it? It's definitely a different. So let me reword that. Let me reword that. We still need to conduct the information, even if Cloud Cowork is kind of functioning itself, like the AI can start building, but it's always going to need a human to do that because it gets stuck. And that's something that if you prompt it correctly, it's always going to be asking you what you want to do. Literally, I was just doing something with the Cloud Cowork this morning. So um, basically, what occurred, I keep saying basically, what occurred now. So since the Robinhood, not Robinhood, the Weeble paper trade, I've been stopped out. I have nothing to track anymore. Like I can still kind of look at Weeble, and since I'm traded out of it now, I can still look at the Robinhood, the Walmart um, stock and the stock options, and still kind of monitor that. But like, it's really no skin in the game at this point because I sold out, so I won't be able to like the gains won't necessarily feel real, even though it's a paper trade. It won't necessarily feel real. But what I did was I used Cloud Cowork and I said I screenshot the metrics from the project, the Walmart Leaps, and I put that to Cowork and I said I want you to look through all the information, the data that you have, and whatever you have access to, and find stocks that are meeting these metrics. So it took a while. Like it was like a command, like for each one. So when I was looking at it, I didn't really see understand what it's actually doing. But then I started recognizing the ticker symbols. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's really going through all these particular stocks, Tesla, all of them, to kind of give me a metric bias, not a metric base to see if these are particular tickers I want to consider doing long option calls in. So Cloud Codework kind of did a lot of the work that I didn't have to necessarily do on my own because I gave it a command to do that and it started doing that. So I thought that was a magnificent thing. So that moving forward, like that's kind of a thing I'm going to be showing the progress of how that worked. With the AI, this is going to be a lot of financial things that are occurring because, again, that's not saying it's my background, but I'm really into finances. I'm definitely into doing the YouTube short prompts. Those things are just, like literally right up my alley because it's definitely interesting. But, definitely learning and growing. You'll hear a lot of financial content from now on kind of coming throughout this podcast. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm just showing you and documenting my journey. Um, so that being said, I'm going to talk about my Robinhood Agents account. I told you last week we kind of changed up the metrics about what is going to be required of how I'm going to have the AI looking through particular ETFs that I have set up, which is QYLD, O, and BYM. And what it did, it followed the new metrics, and all the money went into O. And again, I was like, well, I thought we said we're going to do a minimum of $10 that every stock is going to go and actually get money, but it didn't do that. It didn't do that at all. It didn't necessarily not do what I prompted to do, but the signals were reading so strong that it recommend that the $75 go into O. And again, it was a pushback on that. I didn't just take it for face value. I went back and said, okay, this wasn't our original agreement. And it kind of gave me like certain scenarios and showed me like, okay, well, I understand it with the $10 and we can do that. But this is the metric that is showing right now that if you want to put the $75 in there, is meeting all of the metrics that we set up in order for this income growth um, to to be maximized to its fullest potential. So I allow for it to do that. So I put $75 in there. And you're going to see the stuff that I screenshot. When I printed it out, it just showed that the unrealized gain from $600 was like $10.32. The market has like really been on the red day to day. So I'm going to give an update of what that actually is right now because I checked this earlier today. Um, yeah, I checked it early today. Even on public now, it used to be that you needed to have a desktop to do your agentic account on the desktop, but you don't need it no more. Now you can do it on your phone. I'm just not ready for the public one yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to kind of give that a go. I'm kind of satisfied with how I got things going on with the Robinhood account, and it's. I was able to kind of walk through that a lot with Claude and kind of use some things. Woo, man, my account down $700 there. I know that's a Walmart drop too. Yeah, it's all good though. It's all good. So with that agentic account, as of right now, oh wow. So when I printed this out for the end of the day, it was earlier day was like $10.32, but now it's showing that it's up all time $10.44. Uh, so it over time we're going to see how this thing works, and I'm not going to change any of the metrics. We're going to let the AI do what it needs to do. These are the things that we kind of talked about as far as the stocks that we're going to be involved in, and we're going to let it do what it do. But that being said, again, this is going to be the look for the time being. You're going to be dealing with Bernard Jackson, for the foreseeable future. You may see me do some different things like outdoors or just do a different a different setting. I like to interview some people to see how they feel about AI. So I think that's going to be good for the content. But I'm always going to be kind of looking for suggestions in the comment sections of how you think this can be better. And if you think that's something I can work on, I'm all with constructive criticism. But I'm going to continue to move forward with this podcast. I'm not trying to be the biggest podcast ever. I'm not minimalizing myself either at all. But I want to grow this content as far as I can. So that being said, shout out to you, Jayden. Shout out to all the people that's been supporting again. And hey, let's get it, baby. Build different AI.